they start using the word malaikat, which in Hassaniya means angel. And so he says, you can't see him, can you? And so then the Imams are convinced that this isn't, they call it malaikat Allah, an angel of God is with you.
God's story, your life. Unfolding short stories.
Every year on The Unfolding, we like to reflect on angel stories to lead us into Christmas. So don't miss our last 2 full-length episodes, which are filled with great angel stories. Well, today's story is another angel story. It comes from an interview that Meridith did with Jamie Winship a couple of years ago for page 183 for the 2023 Angels episode. In a remote desert camp, Jamie shares how a simple detail about table settings led to an incredible realization. An angel of God is with you.
I was working on a 3-man team, and we were sent out really into the middle of the Sahara Desert was where we were going to meet a group out there. And the group we were going to meet is a Muslim kind of tribal community, 250,000. And the situation that they're in is a difficult situation for them. They're kind of like refugees, but not really. And so the problem with it is a big population like that that's displaced is a breeding ground for terrorism, just because they're Islamic. And when you have a group that's disenfranchised, it's easy for extremists to come inside and stir them up into violence. And so we were going out there to try and counter that from happening. So the 3 of us are sent there. And it's a very hard place to get to. We have to end up flying on a military transport from that country down into the desert. We go to their military base, and then we leave the military base and have to go out into the desert and make contact with the other Muslim community, who then take us into their camp. So the way that works is we have to go at night. We land in this military airport. They can't go with us because of the situation. So we go out by the 3 of us out into this desert. We drive probably, 3 or 4 hours out into the desert to this GPS location. And then this person from the refugee community meets us, this Muslim guy. And he gets in with us and he directs us into this big camp. And so it's 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. or something like that. So when you go in, they have these massive Bedouin style tents they're so big, they have rooms in them. And he takes us in and he says, you guys are sleeping over here in this part of the tent. I had been into this camp prior to this, so I kind of knew the routine, but you go to sleep. And when you wake up in the morning, you go into the next room over, and on the floor, on the cushions on the floor, it will be breakfast and will be ready to eat. And you eat alone because in their culture, you just let them eat alone so they can eat as much as they want and not be embarrassed. Pretty funny. And then when you're done, then, we'll come in and then we'll have the meeting with the Imams. There was 12 Imams, mosque leaders that we were going to meet with to talk about the situation. So that was the plan. So in this location, there's no electricity. So it's a big population, but there's no electricity. It's just pitch black, unless the stars are out, but it's just so dark. And you can't see anything inside the tent unless you have a flashlight or something like that. So it's the 3 of us. And so it's my 3rd time in this camp, and these other 2 guys that are with me, it's their first time, and they're both military guys. So we go in the next morning, we eat the breakfast. That's fine. But when we're sitting there, there's 3 of us and there's 4 places set. So the one government guy, we call him Jason Bourne. He's probably 10 years younger than me. And this is his first time in this location. And he came with me because he wanted to see if hearing from God is real, actually. So we're in an actual deployed situation, but he especially wanted to come. He got himself assigned to this because he wanted to see if working with me, if what I talked about hearing from God was real in real life. That's why. So he was asking me questions about everything. He's a super smart guy. And the 3rd guy didn't really care. I know he was a naval commander. He wasn't that interested in the whole thing. And so the Jason Bourne guy is like, why is there 4 places set? There's only 3 of us. Is someone else coming in? I said, I don't know. I've never seen him do this. I don't know. It's usually just for however many people are here. I don't know what they're going to do. So we'd have that meal. We go in to meet with the Imams. And the Imams are actually They're mostly pretty friendly, but there's one of them that's just nasty. He doesn't want us there. He's saying that these guys are CIA and they're going to try and manipulate us into U.S. foreign policy and all this stuff. And we ought to kill him right now. We should just kill him right now. And he's just ranting and raving, and the other imams are just kind of quiet. So we're going through the meetings and the sessions, and we have a strategy of where what we want to do is work them into a study of the Old Testament with us, actually, is our strategy, because we know that if we get them into a study of the holy books, they called them, then we can lead them into spiritual transformation, which will counter the extremist movement that's trying to form inside their population. That's our strategy, which we've done before in other places, but not in this place. So Jason Bourne wants to see if any of that really works in real life. And so that's why he's there. So in order to get them to that place, they have to totally trust us, and they have to believe that we're not in there with some kind of bait and switch agenda and all this kind of thing, like we're trying to identify people and kill people and all that. So the one Muslim guy's really upset. He wants us out of there. He wants us dead. He's like, nobody knows where they are because we can't bring any tracking devices with us. We don't even know where we are. And they always search us. And so no one knows where they are. We can kill them and move. No one will ever know all this stuff, which is all true, actually. So it just takes hours of negotiating and helping them not be afraid and take away their fear, lots of other stuff. But every time we would break, and then there'd be a meal, and they would send us back to this room for a meal, and we would go back in the room, and there'd be 4 places set, and there's 3 of us. And this just continues for a couple of days. And dinner, same thing. Then after the dinner, we go drink tea with the imams and haggle through everything again. But we are making headway. And what's interesting to me in that whole time was the one guy that's quite violent, the other imams are not really paying any attention to him. They're like not giving him any weight, which is interesting. They won't speak against him, but they're not really giving him any weight, like agreeing with them. They're just kind of ignoring him, which I thought was odd because a lot of times they're more unified than that. So one night we're in there, I don't know, 3rd or 4th night, we're sitting in there with drinking tea with them and working through, here's what we want to do. And here's why we want to study the holy books with you and all that. And this Jason Bourne says to me, I'm just going to ask him about the place setting. It's driving him crazy. He's like, I'm going to ask him. Well, the group, they speak 2 different languages actually. And because they were part of a Spanish colony a million years ago. So they all speak Spanish. That's one thing. And then they speak Arabic, Hassaniya Arabic. And so my buddy, Jason Bourne, I've never been on anything with him before. So I don't know much about who he is. And he said, I'm going to ask him. And I said, well, they don't speak English. And he said, I speak their language. I found this out about him a lot of times. Everywhere I've ever been with him in the world, he ends up knowing their language. And I'm always like, how many languages do you know? And he always says, I just always know the language I need to know in the right place. So he asks them in their own language. He says, hey, I have a question. What is your custom of setting 4 place settings? Why are you setting the extra place setting when we go to eat? There's 3 of us and there's 4 places. And the lead imam says to him, we're not setting an extra place. We set 4 places because there's 4 of you. It's for each of you, 1 place for each of you. So Jason Bourne says, there's 4 of us because there's really just 3 of us right here. And the imam says, I know he's not here with you right now. He's your security guy, your security guard, the guy that guards you guys while you're asleep. He stands guard all night. That guy, doesn't he eat? And Jason Bourne looks at me. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, because I've had this experience before. And Jason Bourne says, is he outside right now? And the imam says, yeah, he's always right behind the 3 of you. And then there's your security guard. He's always right behind you. When you come in, he stands at the door. And when you sleep, they said, we guess he sleeps during the day while you guys are in with us. But typically he's walking around with you. And Jason Bourne says, what does he look like? And then the imam starts to laugh and he starts talking among the other imams. And they start using the word malaikat, which in Hassaniya means angel. And so he says to Jason Bourne, you can't see him, can you? And Jason Bourne says, no. And then they're like, so then the imams are convinced that this isn't, they call it malaikat Allah, an angel of God is with you. So Jason Bourne said, what does he look like? And they said, he looks like you guys, but he's bigger than you. And we have been wanting to ask you about his sword. He said that he has a sword, and we're very impressed by his sword. We're just curious why your security guy carries a sword with him. Then they kind of all put it together, and I told Jason Bourne, I'm like, this is real. This is an angel. They're seeing our security from God, and they know now that that's what it is. And the reason the imam hasn't really had a lot of influence over the other ones is because of this security. But once they knew it was an angel, they stopped questioning anything that we were doing, and then they agreed, like, let's do the study together. Let's study the word together. So that night when we were back in the tent, Jason Bourne was so moved by that. He'd never experienced anything like that. He was a believer, but very rational and logical. And this was just way outside of his understanding of God. And so in the dark, he asked me, how many beings do you think are in this room with us that we can't see it? And I'm like, I don't know, a lot, but I'm not concerned about them because we have the guard outside. So that changed Jason Bourne's whole life. That was a long time ago that happened. It not only changed his personal life, but it changed how he did missions after that. Really fascinating. Could write a whole book just on him, but how much it affected him to understand God at that higher level. So the reason I said, I've seen this before is because we have had that experience before, even more dramatic than that. So I wasn't surprised by it. In that situation, the angel wasn't there for us. It was for our protection. But the angel was there more for the Muslims, validate who we were, that we were not, atheist or pagans. They said, wow, if God has sent his own angel with you, then you must have things in the Bible to show us that we don't understand.
In 2 Kings 6, the prophet Elisha and his servant wake up one morning to find themselves completely surrounded by an enemy army. From every visible angle, it looks hopeless. The servant panics, but Elisha doesn't. Elisha says, "Do not be afraid, for those who are with us are more than those who are with them." And then he prays, "Lord, open his eyes so that he may see." And God does. Nothing about the situation changed, only what the servant could now see. Well, as we celebrate Christmas, we're reminded that the same God who sent angels to announce the birth of Jesus, the same God who sent an angel to watch over Jamie and his team, and the same God who sent an angelic army to protect Elisha, is the God who is still with us. Emmanuel, even when we don't see it. Well, Merry Christmas. The Unfolding is a faith podcast, and you can hear more great podcasts like it at myfaithpodcasts.com.